Hey guys, welcome back, and as you can see I am doing a 90s throwback makeup tutorial. So I decided to have some fun and I got really inspired from a look that I did a couple years ago on my blog, and it is actually the exact same look, I just used a different lip, and I decided to have a little bit of fun today and do a 90s throwback. And if you were born in the 90s like me, I was born in 1993, then welcome. You were born in the best era of all time. So other than wearing blue eyeshadow, grunge and dark vampy lips were very in the 90s. So I love it. I think it's super fun. I kind of wish I was like a teenager growing up in the 90s, because I feel like it'd be really, like a really fun time with, all like the boy bands and, all of the, space buns and everything like that, which a lot of that stuff is coming back now. But, what comes around goes around. So yeah, and I have to say, Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC, like I love both of them, but sorry, NSYNC takes it for the win in my book. I hope you enjoy this look. I had a lot of fun doing it. It's very matte, very dark, very smoky. So feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I would love to have you here. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my complexion first. So I'm just going to start by priming my skin. So just like normal, like I do any other time, and I'm just going to be using my Smashbox Photo Finish Smoothing Primer. And I'm going to, with clean hands, just put that all over the face. All right, so next I'm going to take my NYX Green Color Correcting Concealer and then just conceal the red blemishes, not really blemishes, but like more so like acne, like post-acne marks that I have. And this lovely thing that's been on my cheek for like a week now, but it is going away, luckily, thank God. But then I'll just be left with a nice little post-acne mark for a couple weeks afterwards. Then I'm just going to blend it out with my finger. Okay, and then once I get that blend out, I'm just gonna go in with a concealer that's about my skin tone, same as always, and then put that on top of that green concealer to add a little bit more coverage, just so the green doesn't shine through. All right, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a translucent powder and then just dab a little bit of the powder on top of where we just put that concealer, just so when I go in with my foundation, it doesn't move the concealer around and like just messes up like what we did. And then for foundation today, I'm going to be going in with my trusty Dior Forever foundation. So just a full coverage, I would say like more of a luminous matte finish foundation. And I'm going to be putting that on with my damp Real Technique sponge right here. I replaced my beauty blender with it like a week ago, and because like my beauty blender was like old and disgusting and like the top rubbed off, so I like needed to get another one. But I honestly forgot how much I love like the Real Technique sponges. Like they just, like I could tell like a huge difference. And it's probably because like mainly also because my beauty blender was like so like, it was like old, so it just really needed replaced, and so it like wasn't blending my foundation out as smoothly. But I could really tell a difference once I got this new sponge, and these are like, I think like $6. So these are actually really, really good if you're looking for like an affordable sponge. Okay, so then once I get my foundation all blended out, then I'm going to go back in with that concealer, like the skin tone colored one, and then just add a little bit more coverage to like my little scar right there, like my acne scar. And I'm just going to blend that out lightly with my beauty sponge, just to add a little bit more coverage to it. So next I'm going to go in with concealer, and I'm going to be using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, and I'm going to be mixing it with the Josie Maran Vibrancy Concealer right here. So I feel like highlighting and contouring like wasn't a big thing in the 90s, so I'm not going to go in with too much concealer because I don't want it to be super like stark and like harsh underneath of there. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit, but I'm just mainly going in with it for coverage purposes. And then mixing in that Vibrancy concealer just so my under eyes don't look too dry. And I did go with my normal lighter shade that I would technically use for highlighting underneath my eye, just because I feel like in the 90s, a lot of people had really light foundation, and I feel like that was like kind of like a thing to like be pale, I guess. So then just like sticking with my normal like color that I normally would go in with is just gonna help like lighten up my foundation a little bit by the time I get it, you know, like blended out. And if you hear that in the background, like a little toy like rolling around, it's my cat. He's playing with his little ball. Okay, and then to still like even out the lightness, I'm going to go in the other areas of my face. Okay, so then now that I have that blended out, I'm going to go in with a translucent powder, and this one is from Maybelline, and it's their Fit Me collection right here, and I am going in with the shade Fair. So I believe it's their lightest one. So it's supposed, I mean, they come in like different shades, but I mean, it's supposed to be like translucent, but I feel like it is, like as far as like the color of it, it's pretty light. And I want to go in with that because one, it's matte, and a lot of like the looks back in the 90s were very matte as far as like for skin and lips. So I'm going to go in with a mattifying powder, and plus with it being so light, that'll help like lighten up my foundation a little bit more like underneath of my eyes. And then I'm just going to take my sponge and then put that underneath of the eye. All right, so then now I'm just gonna take a separate mattifying, or it's not really mattifying, maybe a natural finish to a mattifying finish, I'm not really sure. But I'm going to be taking a separate translucent powder, and then this is just the MAC times Patrick Star powder. And I'm just going to be setting the outer perimeters of my face with this, because this one is actually like translucent. It might have like a little bit of a peach tone to it, but not anything that's like too overwhelming or that would add any extra color. I just don't wanna put this one all over my face just because I don't want to, you know, be that light. But I'm just going to lightly set the rest of my face with this. Okay, and then since I did put that concealer on top of my eyes, I'm just going to set that with a little bit of the translucent powder just so it doesn't crease. Okay, so now I'm going to do my brows, and I feel like in the 90s, like, you know, like sculpted out eyebrows, they just like weren't a thing. So, I mean, people like drew in their eyebrows, but they were very thin and very overplucked. So a lot of people, when they would come into Sephora and they would want me to teach them how to fill in their eyebrows or just like fill them in for them, they would tell me that they lived through the 90s where it was very popular to have very thin eyebrows, so they overplucked them and they were permanently stuck with thinner eyebrows. So very thin eyebrows were, of course, in style then. I'm not going to draw mine pencil thin, but I'm also not going to, you know, like have mine perfect or necessarily like really like sharp either. So I'm just going to fill them in as naturally as I can, and I'm just going to be taking my brow definer to do that. Okay, so I'm back and my brows are filled in. I tried to do it as naturally as I could. It's kind of hard just because my eyebrows are naturally blonde, so it's kind of hard to leave mine very natural because then it just looks weird. But I didn't focus on really like with the placement of my brows or like really like trying to like sculpt with the pencil. I just more so just filled it in the best as I could to keep it like as natural as possible. So this is what we have. So now I'm gonna go in with some bronzer and bronze up my skin and just add a little bit more color to it. So I'm just going to be taking my Benefit Hoola bronzer and taking my bronzer brush and adding a little bit of color. I'm not gonna overdo it because, like I said, I feel like looking at pictures from people in the 90s, I feel like their foundation and their skin looked paler. So I'm not gonna go overboard, but I just wanna add a little bit of color and dimension. All right, so then now that I have my bronzer on, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the eyes. So the first color that I am going to go in with sorry, my pan is almost empty, but this one right here, and it is Peach Smoothie from Makeup Geek. And I'm just going to use that as my transition shade in my crease. So it's just a really light, well, peachy color, as you know, the title says, Peach Smoothie. And as I've stated before, you want to use a lighter shade for a transition color just so it'll help with the blending process as you get darker and darker with your colors. Okay, so then the next color that I'm going to go in with in my crease on top of Peach Smoothie is going to be Creme Brulee, also from Makeup Geek. And I'm just going to layer that right on top of the color that I just went in with. And I'm kind of like with my blending with this, because I want it to be like a little like blown out and smokier. I am like, when I blend it on the corner here, I am bringing it up towards the kind of like the tail of the brow, just because I want it to be like a smoke type of effect. And I'm doing that, like I'm not placing the product up by the brow bone. I'm just doing like that blending motion. Like once I get like most of the color off of the brush, then I'll start to go in like small circular motions and blending it upwards towards the tail of the brow. Okay, so then the next color that I'm going to go in with is again from Makeup Geek, and it is in the shade Bake Sale right here. And going in with a smaller brush this time, just because I want it to be a little bit more precise. And I'm still gonna layer that on top of the colors that I just put in my crease. I just want to be a little bit more precise with my placement. And so taking my little Sigma brush right here, I am just going to pop that into the crease. And then once I get most of that color off of the brush, then that's when I'll like blend it upwards a little more. But I'm going all the way from outer corner to inner corner because I just want it to be a real like blown out, like grungy, smoky look. But I'm just layering up this color and then slightly in small circular motions blending it upwards. And then I'll go in with like my fluffier brush and then blend out the edges a little bit too. Okay, and then to add some depth to my crease, I'm going to go in with MAC Cosmetics Swiss Chocolate Eyeshadow. And then just taking the same brush that I just went in with, I'll just layer that on top of the colors that I have been placing in my crease. And I don't care if I get, you know, that shadow on my lid because we'll be going in with like a lid color as well. But I'm just layering that right in that crease area. From all the way from the outer corner to the inner corner. But I'm also going to take that color like once it's off of my brush for the most part, and once I start to like blend upward, I'm also taking that color up towards like the tail of the brow area. Then I'll take my fluffier brush and then blend out the edges a little bit so it's not like, so there's no like harsh lines or anything like that. And then I'm just going to work on building up that color. Okay, so then once I'm done with my crease colors, I'm going to go in and add a little bit of smokiness to my lid. So I'm going to be taking the eyeshadow from Anastasia Beverly Hills in the color Fudge. And I am going to be taking the exact same brush that I went in with, like the smaller Sigma one. And I am going to place this color on my lid and then blend it upward. Like once I get most of that color off, then blend it upward into the crease. Now I like to personally go in with a fluffier brush like this when I'm going in with smokier colors on my lid. One, because it like diffuses the color and it's not going on so harsh, and then you're just like, you're kind of like blending at the same time, so it blends it out easier, I find. And two, I just feel like it like makes your life easier because it's going to help provide like a smokier look because the brush isn't like as dense. And so you're not gonna have to spend a bunch of time like trying to blend out like a really harsh line. So I'm going to start lower, more so towards like the lashes. And then once I get some of that color off, then that's when I will start to bring that color upward, like into the crease area. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in with a fluffier brush and then blend out those edges a little bit, just lightly. And then I'm going to go back in with more of that fudge color and then just build up the intensity of the pigment. It's always best to work in layers, I feel like, and go in with a little bit and get that blended out, and then go on top with more layers of color, just because it'll be easier. Because then if you go in with like a bunch of pigment on your brush and then you put it on your eye, then it's going to just take more time to try to blend it out, and I feel like it's just going to be a little bit more hectic on you than if you were to start out with a little bit and then build up the color from there. Because it's always easier to start out with a little bit and add more than going in with too much and then just trying to like blend it out. Then you're just going to be sitting there forever. Okay, so then once I get that blended out, I'm going to be taking an even darker brown, and it is from Makeup Geek, and it is in the color Americano, and that is right here. And then I'm just going to be taking this and then placing it on the outer corner of my eye, and then just taking the exact same brush. But I'm just going to be putting it on the outer corner right here, and then kind of like slightly blending it into the crease a little bit. All right, and then taking my fluffy brush, I'm just going to blend those edges out a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to be taking Makeup Geek Corrupt, and it is just a very black eyeshadow, so any black that you may have. And then I'm just going to be taking my pencil brush, and I'm going to be running that along my lashes right here, just to add like a little bit of smokiness to it. And again, especially with working with blacks, you want to go in with a little bit at a time, because you don't want to get too harsh with it too quickly, because then it'll just be harder, like I said, on you to sit there working on blending it out. And I'm just kind of like not being necessarily precise. I'm just trying to keep it close to the lash line area. But you see how adding that black in is making this side look a lot more like grungy and smokier? That is what you want with a 90s look. And then I'll go in with the smaller brush that I used to apply like the brown shadows like on my lid. And without like any extra shadow on it, I'm just going to lightly kind of like blend that black in, just so there's not like a harsh like distinction between like black and then brown on my lid. Like I want it to be like more like a gradient effect, kind of like smoke. Okay, so then once I have that done, then I'm going to move to the lower lash line, and I am going to take the color Creme Brulee. So it was the second color that we went in with in the crease. So it was like that lighter brown shade right here. And I'm going to smoke that underneath of my lower lash line, almost like a transition shade. So I'm going to bring that from outer corner all the way to where this tear duct stops right here. And I'm going to be really smoking out this lower lash line, because I want it to be like that grungy, like smoked out, like blown smoked out effect. Okay, and then going right on top of that, I'm going to go in with MAC Swiss Chocolate. So the other color that we went in with up on our, up in our crease. And I'm just going to layer that on top of Creme Brulee. All right, and then the next color that I'm going to go in with is Anastasia Fudge. So essentially, if you haven't caught on yet, I'm just going to go in with practically the same colors that we did on our crease and our top lash line, or not lash line, but our top lid, and go in with those colors like underneath of the lower lash line. So with this one, I'm going to take my flat definer brush, because this color is darker and I don't want it to get like too sloppy, even though I still want it to be like blown out and smoky. But I'm just going to take my flat definer brush here and then dip into that color, and then place that underneath of the lower lash line, and then I'll take my pencil brush and blend that out here in a second. All right, and then just taking my pencil brush and I'm just going to blend that out a little bit just so it's not a harsh line underneath of there. Okay, so then to continue with this dark trend that we're going with underneath of the lower lash line, I'll go in with Americano, which was the darkest brown that we went in with, like up in our crease area. And just taking my flat definer brush, I'm just going to run that along the entire lower lash line. So just essentially layering all of these browns together. And then I'll take my pencil brush and then blend that out. And then when I'm blending that out, I'm not only going back and forth with it, but I'm also kind of slightly bringing that shadow down a little bit too. So that's going to be the trick to getting that lower lash line really like smoky and blown out. All right, so now I'm going to take Corrupt, which was that black eyeshadow, and then I'm going to, again, take my flat definer brush, and instead of going all the way from outer to inner, I'm just going to focus that on the outer third of the eye. Like so. If you wanted it to be like super blown out and smoky, you can go from all the way from outer to inner. And then I'll take my pencil brush and then blend it out as well. With this color, I'm really only focusing on that outer, that outer third area, and then blending it downward in that outer third area because I don't want to bring it like all the way in. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and highlight my brow bone, just to add a little bit of attention up there. And I am going to be using Makeup Geek Mirage eyeshadow. And so I'm going to be taking my MAC 242 brush and just dipping a little bit into that color and then just mainly placing it up at the high point of the brow right here, just to add a little bit of something up there. Now this eyeshadow, it's not like a full matte, but there's not any shimmer in it. So it has like a little bit of a sheen to it. So I just figured it'd add like a little bit of something. So it's not super, it's like too matte. And then I'm also going to use that same color to highlight on my inner corner. Just add a little bit of something in there. Not anything too crazy. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add some mascara off camera and I will be right back. Okay, and then so before I go in with mascara on my lower lashes, I wanted to go in with a black eyeliner, and I'm just using this black one right here from Marc Jacobs. And I'm just going to run this along my lower lash line. Okay, and then I'm also going to add some eyeliner to my upper like waterline up here, just because I want it to be like really dark. So you can do this if you want. Some people don't like it, but I feel like it really helps like darken up the look. And I'm just running that along up there. I haven't done it in a while, so it like kind of tickles. It like makes my eye water a little bit. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and add some mascara to my lower lash line off camera, and then I will be right back. Okay, so now that our eyes are very smoky, I'm going to go in and add some blush to our cheeks, and I'm going to go in with this NYX blush right here, and it is in the color Bittersweet, and I have featured this one before. It's just like a really pretty like mauve-y colored one. I know it's not available anymore, but any like really pretty like mauve-y colored blush that you have would work fine for this. And I'm just going to place that on my cheeks just to add a little bit of color. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to finishing with my brows and just setting those in place, because I'm not going to be adding any highlight to my cheekbones at all today. It feels so weird, but like I said, highlight wasn't a big thing in the 90s, so I'm not going to do that today. It was all about being very matte, anywhere from your lips all the way to your eyes and everywhere on your face. So taking my Benefit Gimme Brow. I'm in the shade 3.5. And I am, let me bring my mirror a little bit closer so I can see a little better. But I'm also going to run it like going in the opposite direction too, because since this has fibers in it, if you run it in the opposite direction as well, that'll help give your brows a little bit of volume, which I want to do. So I will just lightly coat my hairs going the normal way, and then I'm going to spoolie that out first. And then I will go in the opposite direction, so then it helps add a little bit of volume. I don't know if you can tell on camera or not, but it creates like a little bit of volume and almost a little bit of like a messier look to my brows, so they're not so like perfect, which is the look that I'm going for with this like grungy type of look. Okay, and then once I set my brows with the Benefit brow gel that has like a tint to it, I'm gonna go in with my Anastasia clear brow gel and then just completely set my brows in place. And I'm kind of combing them upwards a little bit, so then they look a little fuller and a little bit more voluminous and bushier, I guess you could say. So then for my lip today, I'm going to go in with something nice and dark and kind of in like a maroon-ish color, which was a very big lip color in the 90s. So anything that had like a brown tint to it, or even like a red with like a brown, that was like a very big lip color then, if you wanted to go for like that grungier look. And this is Kat Von D liquid lipstick in the shade Vampira. I believe it's pronounced that, Vampira. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and apply this to my lips. And this is a matte liquid lipstick as well. So matte lips, very big in the 90s. Okay, so then now that I have my lip on, I'm going to go ahead and use this grape water from Cotelay, and it's this grape water spray right here. Sorry, it has a tester sticker on it because I got it from working at Sephora. But yeah, I'm not going to use this to set my makeup. I'm just mainly using it as a refresher because since I'm so matte, I feel like I'm feeling a little bit dry. So I'm just going to give a couple spritzes to my face. So yeah, that completes this 90s makeup tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. It turned out very smoky, very vampy, so perfect for the 90s era. But if you recreate this look, go ahead and tag me on Instagram so I can see. I would love to see your recreations if you get inspired. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.